Okay. We are going to start the workshop now. I shall enable live transcription for the meeting. And thank you all very much for coming. I'm going to make a formal opening of this workshop on behalf of the conference. And then I'm going to hand over to Banaani Deka to facilitate the conference proceedings. This workshop is part of a conference organised by University College London and the University of Greenwich in partnership with 3 other universities, 2 international union confederations, and 2 international NGOs representing social movements around the world. The conference is looking at the question of how to shift narratives about public spending and public services, and it's committed to looking at ways of changing the narratives used by neoliberal governments and others over many years now to create a narrative positively supporting a strong social and economic role for the public sector. And this workshop is part of that. It's not just a workshop for people in India, it's not just a workshop for people in Asia, it's a workshop that's part of a global conference dealing with important issues and highlighting important issues that everyone around the world should be interested in. The process of the workshop is going to be the normal Zoom meetings one. Everybody except the speakers at the moment is muted. And I'm now going to hand over to Banaani to act as facilitator for the rest of the workshop. And she will unmute speakers and also invite comments from people at the end of the presentations. When you want to say something, please use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand, and feel free to put anything under the anything into the chat as the workshop proceeds. So I'll now hand over to Banaani. You're in charge now for the rest of the workshop. And thanks very much to everybody for all the work and effort that's gone into this workshop. It's been great. So Banaani, over to you.
Thank you, David. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone present here, and greetings from India. So we welcome you all to today's very important session in the conference Shifting Narratives, the Political Economy of Public Spending, Services and Production. This session is particularly on the community health workers in South Asia. We are today focusing on the community health workers specifically in India and Pakistan. My name is Banaani. I will be facilitating today's session. I am working with PSI, Public Services International, and I'm associated with the Community Health Workers Unions in India. PSI is a global union federation representing unions in the public services like health, municipalities, water, electricity, local government, public utilities, etc. So just to give a very brief about community health workers before we dive into the session. Community health workers are an essential bridge between the public health system and the communities, and who are delivering essential health services, mobilizing and creating awareness for a range of national health programs across South Asia. Specifically for the marginalized and rural urban communities, the communities in South Asia are reliant on the work of the community health workers for the access of health and child care services. In India, in Pakistan, as well as in Nepal, community health workers comprise majority of the health workforce across the region. So the community health workers were actually built using volunteer labor, assuming that around the gendered notion of women from marginalized backgrounds would be content to work for minuscule allowances and not wages. Both in India and Nepal, the community health workers are not
हिंदुस्तान और नेपाल
recognized
में
as workers. They are working as volunteers.
वो
But and in Pakistan also they were being
रजाकारों की
they were working as volunteers. But since 2012, they have been recognized as workers of the public sector. So the community health
public health
workers, it is majorly a women's workforce, which has also been very important in filling a gap caused by the underfunding of the public health systems, particularly in the rural and marginalized communities. Therefore, supporting significant improvements in the life expectancy, public health, maternal as well as child health. I will not take much time, but it is also
मैं ज़्यादा
needless
वक्त नहीं
to
लूंगी
mention that the community health workers work that they have
कम्युनिटी हेल्थ
done during the
वर्कर्स
pandemic, as well as the
वबा के
vaccination,
ज़माने में जिस तरीके से काम
and
किए
they are being acknowledged by the entire world and as well as organizations like WHO. But concrete changes are yet to be seen in the region. Therefore, to discuss this important issue, we today have a very vibrant panel from both India and Pakistan to discuss the issues of community health workers in the public healthcare system and their regularization as public service workers. So before we move in, a few housekeeping rules that I would like to mention. I will introduce each speaker as they speak. Each speaker will be given 10 to 12 minutes to speak, and after the speakers, we will have an open floor discussion, and where we will be taking up question and answers. We do have interpretations in Hindi and Urdu, and therefore, without further ado, I would like to introduce the list of speakers. Firstly, we'll go through Pakistan. The first speaker amongst us is Sohail Javed. He is an economist with the Applied Economics Research Center in the University of Karachi. In 2017, he had conducted an excellent study on the stolen wages and its impact on the public service workers. And that is what he is going to give us much detail on. Therefore, I would like to invite Professor Sohail. Professor Sohail, you are on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The my title of the presentation is the effects of the deployed wages on lady health workers in Sindh. Particularly the lady health workers program in Pakistan as a start in 1993 to 1994 links the community with health facilities by recruitment and deployment of 110,000 lady health workers, while that 23,085 in Sindh. Initially, they have a very acute problem for the payment. The government paid a very delayed. In future, that they impact a lot of impact on their socio-economic conditions. So let's start. The objective of the study, the report was commissioned in 2017 to ascertain the effect of delayed wage on lady health workers working in the Sindh province. Sample designing this was an exploratory study, non-probability, convenience sampling we have done. Sample size of our study is 300 lady health workers. The area covered in Sindh, Chambar, Hyderabad, Karachi, Mir Zulfiqhar, Sangar, Shadatur, and Tandwala Yar. Only female enumerators we hired for these studies. Local female enumerators hired for this studies, trained in Karachi. Survey took time almost 1 week, and one focus group we have done with the 10 participants for finding out their issues or point out their issues, what they have. The our findings are according to demographic findings are presented here. The average age which we have covered in the field is 40 years or 5 months. Most common marital status are married. Most common education are matriculation. Average family size they have 2 family members. Household with a school going children is almost 75% of their family members. Household that reported are members with major disease is 68 major disease like a heart problem, asthma, hepatitis, diabetes, etc. Average duration of employment is almost 13 years, 3 months of them. Average income reported as a 16,245 per month, and their family income is 23,682 per month. Average household expenditure reported 29,567. Average budget deficit reported like 5,885 per month, almost the 19.9% of their income or their budget. Effect on the family educations. The education is considered vital for the economic growth of the individuals. But the private schools are more expensive than the government school. On an average, every reporting household has a 2.3 children of the school going age they have. An average of 1.9 children go to some type of government and private school. In a sample of 300 means that the 120 children are out of school. 1 in every 3rd household did not go to school despite being of the school going age and the availability of suitable school. After that we ask or we want to know why they are not going to school, what they have problem facing. So 5 respondents they don't respond. The main finding is that we send boys to school since it is expensive. They prefer the children who was a male child. They want to go to send to the school except to the female. If they have a limited budget, they want to prefer to send the school the male children. Effects of family education: increased gap in education level of girls versus boys. No vocational and higher education for the older children. Bad for the future economic opportunities. Youth driven to violence, also drugs. If they are not going to school, they involved in these activities. ASLHWEU do not enjoy any health coverage despite being regularized, have to use the private sector healthcare facilities. 70% of the respondents reported having at least one family member suffering from the major disease like the heart disease, hepatitis, kidney issues, asthma, and ulcer, etc. Almost all reported having at least one diabetics and hypoglycemia patients. 20% of the respondents reported having at least one hepatitis patient at home. We asked them are they happy with the healthcare that you can afford. Then the 210 respondents said, no, I am very unhappy with the healthcare that I can afford. Effect on family health. 70% of those women who spend their lives providing healthcare counseling to women of their areas are very unsatisfied with the healthcare that they are able to afford. Because in these areas, the people's they don't afford the private doctors. They have a BHUs and DHUs. There is not a good facilities. These are the public sector dispensaries or small hospitals, but they have not a good facilities there. Only one doctor. They even if they don't come regularly in the dispensary, so they are not satisfied with the respondent reported an average 3,739 per month expenditure on the medical. LHW incomes is 68% account for the 68% of the household income. In most urban families, the woman's income is considered secondary to the man's income. Not here. For families reported having unemployment men at home who rely on their income, because in our sample, most of the males are unemployed in this house. They don't want to work even if they have a work. There are almost more than the 185. They are unemployed. Effect on the family life. 63.3% of the household surveyed men, either sons or husband of the working age, did not do anything, or they don't want to do anything. They stay at home but are still the master of the household. In our patriarchal society, male dominance is guaranteed and has nothing to do with whether he is useful members of the society or not. 22.3% respondent have men in their families who work off and on, and as such there is not steady stream of income. 85.6% household run on the income is brought in by the lady health worker. The average delay in the salary reported was between 3 or 4 months. Since this is an average, now none could be predict when the next salary income will come. Also, on the average, most households have a budget deficit. The effect of the men twofold. They buy like a carom board and they eat a gutka, become unavailable, their ego is hurt. 78% women reported some form of wage-related domestic violence. A little over 50% reported that the violence was a very common practice in this. The self-esteem is a very important issue in this study. The key question asked was who gets to decide where and how the salary of the lady workers would be utilized. Theoretically, two cases can be justified. The one who earns decide. There is a system of consulting between the couples. When asked, many respondents were reluctant to respond to the enumerators. Like the 184s, the 184 enumerators, a household decide their husband, their expenditures. The lack of the autonomy and the control are likely cause of the worker depression. There are certain methodology we use to calculate the depression. There's responsible self-esteem scale. I scale is deployed 96 where this is the 10 items scale globally measured. 10 question and administrated on the 4-point Likert scale ranging strongly agree or strongly disagree. These are the respondent of the Rosenberg self-esteem. The one, the whole I am satisfied with myself. This is 51 are strongly disagree, and I certainly feel useless at the time is 61. I disagree 68%. I certainly feel useless at the time. I take a positive attitude towards myself is a 61 is a disagree, strongly disagree they have. These are the methodology. I can clearly see that more than 90% of the surveyed lady health workers suffered from the low self-esteem. More people gain esteem through their professions. Lack of esteem often result in depression. The symptoms of the depression we take that do you face any difficulties in the certain or the remembering details and making decision? Do you often feel the fatigue? And these are the results you can read on the sensor. Now I think we have a very short time. The economic vulnerability, the average household income reported as a 23,000, and the average household expenditure is 29,000, almost 5,885 rupees is the average budget deficit. Similarly, the women have no tangible assets that can be disposed in case of the economic hardship. Most families did not own any television or had only one basic. Most residents were rented household. 57% of the respondents reported borrowing from the local retailers for fulfill their daily necessities, daily grocery. Any loans taken from the this is one lady health workers reported locking herself up in her room when lender come calling for the loan. A conclusion is lady health workers are a vital part of our primary healthcare delivery mechanism. Other SAARC countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and Maldives have accomplished remarkable feats in the mother-child healthcare and have reduced their infant mortality and maternal mortality rates. These three countries have been able to excel in their Millennium Goal Development Goal initiative. In contrast, both Pakistan and neighborhood countries, India have not been able to meet health-related targets. Lady health workers are a vital cog in our health provision infrastructure, depriving them of their rightful wage, and the facilities will not only affect the lives but also the lives of the hundreds of thousands of the families that benefits from their services. The current situation of these workers has deteriorated, where a vast majority suffer from the low self-esteem and depression. This is having an effect of their moral and may harm their ability to perform their jobs well in the future. Steps shall be taken on an urgent basis to provide them with the facilities enjoyed by a regular government servant. The Lady Health Workers Union has done all it could from the organized protest to meet government officials. We were able to find a very high satisfaction rating for the performance and effectiveness of the union. What is missing is the matching efforts from the relevant to the government department. Scope for the future study, the situation of the lady health workers has deteriorated significantly due to the onslaught of COVID-19 and the recent mega inflation in Pakistan. In order to align the new recommendations for the incumbent government, a fresh study is required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Sohail. Next, I would like to welcome Brother Zulfiqhar, who is the Executive Director of Workers' Education and Research Organization, which is based in Karachi in Pakistan. He is also coordinating the PSI project of organizational strengthening of the lady health workers in Pakistan. Brother Zulfiqhar, I would give you the floor. Brother Sohail, you have to stop sharing your screen so that.
Yes, I am trying. I am trying to this.
Sure, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you,
okay.
sir. Brother Zulfiqhar, you are on mute.
Brother Zulfiqhar, you can speak now, I think.
Brother Zulfiqhar, if you can hear us, I can see you unmute, but if you can also switch on your camera.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but it is very faint.
Hello.
Yes, yes, Brother Zulfiqhar.
I share my presentation.
We can't hear you, but your mic is unmuted.
Can you hear me? Sister?
Yes, we can hear you,
Okay.
but there is a
Okay.
faint sound.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, study Sohail Javed was presenting was conducted in 2007. After the struggle of community health workers in Pakistan, the situation is changed now, and they got some remarkable success here. Uh, uh, Basically, the community health workers program was started in 1994 in Pakistan with the aim to provide primary healthcare services, family planning, vaccination, and nutrition to the communities. Initially, around 124,000 baby health workers uh, have been appointed across the Pakistan and around 24,000 in Sindh, where we are working. Uh, uh, Basically, this union represents a unique segment of workers as one of the single largest group of women workers in the entire country. CHWs are providing critical and essential public health services to the community. Despite having tough conditions of climate, they visit door to door, not only in cities, but also in rural areas during snows, flood, and heat waves. Initially, community health workers have appointed as volunteers, uh, but community health workers uh, in Pakistan facing with extremely poor working conditions, without wages, long working hours, no clear job description, uncertainty of tenure, and lack of safety while on the field or any legal rights recognized by the state. Against this injustice, the Health Worker of Pakistan formed in 2009 and all Pakistan health workers.
Sorry, Zulfiqhar ji, your voice is quite faint. We can't hear you.
Now, you can hear me? Can you hear me now?
Zulfiqhar ji, if you can hear me, we cannot hear you at all. Zulfiqhar ji, if it is perhaps if it is a problem, then we can move on to the next speaker and then come back to you. Next, so that you can also sort out your speaker situation. Next speaker, we have Sister Halima Zulqarnain from the All Sindh Lady Health Workers and Employees Union. And she is the central president of the union and one of the vital forces who have been able to win the regularization for the community health workers in Pakistan. Sister
Uh,
Halima?
Mr. Banaani, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Zulqarnain.
Then I'll continue.
Yes, but you have around 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Uh, Actually, the phenomena was unique as never before in Pakistan history. Women workers in any sector had organized a collective struggle. Uh, the struggle of lady health workers was fought on three fronts simultaneously. Number one, politically. Number two, legally, and state power. Politically, they formed alliances with the civil society and political parties and got connected with the sitting government, lobbying with the government. And legally, they have launched a petition in Supreme Court of Pakistan. And as a state power, this was the last, the third stage of their struggle to pressurize the government, started demonstration, rallies, press conferences, boycotting, polio campaigns, and sit-in in all big cities of country in front of assemblies, buildings, parliament house, minister house, chief minister and prime minister houses, press club, and Supreme Court of Pakistan. Police used baton charges and water bowser to restrict the protesters. As a result, many lady health workers were injured and arrested, but they continued a struggle till the success. As a result of continuous struggle, they have organized a big protest in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, in 2012, in front of Supreme Court of Pakistan. As a result, Supreme Court of Pakistan, Chief Justice of Supreme Court of Pakistan took subordo action and ordered to regularize all the staff of the national program, Lady Health Workers Program. But in the meantime, it, a constitutional amendment was introduced in the parliament, and as a result, the all provincial governments were devolved, and Ministry of Health also devolved to provincial government. So the things went into the carpet, and there was no solution, and they have not been regularized at that time. So they have again started with the support of PSI and WERO in 2016, and started a campaign uh, against stolen wages to highlight the impact of delayed wages and demand fair remuneration and decent working conditions for lady health workers. They organized different meetings, they mobilized their members, and started again the protest and also organized lobby meetings with the government officials. And as a result, finally, they are successful to resolve the payment of wages issues. And now the lady health workers of Pakistan are getting more than 50,000 rupees per month as a salary, including the 17,000 rupees health risk allowance of COVID. Uh, it is, and the minimum wage of unskilled workers announced by the government is 25,000, which means they are getting salaries more than the minimum wage of double the minimum wage of Pakistan. And they have, but despite this success, they are not working as a registered union. So they have started again one more campaign for the registration of their union. The Labor Department was very much reluctant to register themselves. So they have again started a campaign for the registration of their union, mobilized their members again, and took them on the street, organized demonstration in front of labor departments, um, and on the second stage, they involve the trade unionists and the other influential people, and and, and also warned Labor Department if their union was not is not registered in a few days, then we will block the roads, and we'll also taken up this issue within the ILO Committee for Freedom of Association, and also engage the member of parliaments, and as a result, finally, Labor Department confirmed the registration of the union. So it was also a big success of the union. And finally, union believes that regulation and recognition of union is an essential step toward gender equality and recognition of women unpaid labor in Pakistan. And this frontline health workers, community health workers in Pakistan facing many challenges. For example, the community health workers have not been provided vaccine on private basis, uh, and they have not been provided their PPEs and facing harassment when visit door to door and duty a day and night duty at vaccination center without sufficient facilities. Union recognized, negotiated with the authorities, and as a result, they have resolved many issues related to the COVID impact on the community health workers. Community Health in Pakistan actively engaged PSI campaign on a TRIPS waiver. They sent letters to the 13 rich countries heads, including USA, UK, Australia, Germany, Canada, Sweden, Norway, Japan, Denmark, etc., and demanded that all human beings have right on vaccination. Therefore, it should be provided free or on minimum cost to all people across the world. As a result, fortunately, as a result of the campaign, US announced the announced to support this waiver, where and the campaign is still going on, and we are also part of that, active part of also this campaign. Uh, in South Asia, community health workers from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan are engaged as frontline health workers without any clear mandate regarding their role, responsibilities, safety precautions, working conditions, etc., etc. During the COVID, during the COVID. Therefore, with the support of PSI, community health workers unions from India, Nepal, and Pakistan, discussed the issues in depth and chalked out a joint charter of demand to recognize community health workers as public sector workers, give them role in decision making, improving the working condition, and this campaign was launched in all three countries. This is the basically the campaign launch media coverage, and this is the joint chart what we have produced and and submitted to the government as well as to the international community. This basically the joint demand comprising recognition as public health workers, a collective voice in decision-making process, and occupational safety and health protection, and dignity at work, care for us, and a people-centered healthcare system. These were the mainly our demands. And we also, because in Pakistan, the community health workers got too many successes and still have many problems to resolve. For example, the upgradation of their skills and pension and gratuity. But we are planning to make another campaign to negotiate with the government and pressurize them to solve these issues, especially the upgradation of their skills. And we also make solidarity with the sisters in Nepal and India. Hopefully, we are with them, and we will share. We have also shared our experience of regularization of our jobs, and hopefully the sisters in both countries will also get their rights to recognize as public sector workers, and definitely solve the other issues as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Zulfiqhar. Next, we have, continuing the success story from Pakistan, we have Sister Halima, who has been vital in this, as I have mentioned earlier, in the fight for regularization. I would request Sister Halima to take the floor. Sister Halima will be speaking in Urdu, and there will be interpretation. Sister Halima, yeah. If you can also kindly switch on your cameras.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है आप सबको?
जी हालिमा जी, आ रही है आपकी आवाज. Sorry for switching in Hindi. Please continue.
सबसे पहले तो मैं ये कहूंगी कि आप सबकी शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आप लोग मुझे मौका देते रहते हैं अपनी जो ये ऑनलाइन कॉन्फ्रेंस है इसमें आकर के बात करने का, और ये हमारे लिए सौभाग्य होता है कि हम इतने बड़े फोरम पे जो अपने लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर या कम्युनिटी हेल्थ वर्कर हैं उनके इश्यूज जो है वो लेकर आते हैं। मेरे भाई मीर जुल्फकार ने काफी चीजें जो हैं वो वाजे कर दी हैं, लेकिन जैसे प्रोग्राम का तारुफ है कुछ चीजें मैं जो है वो बताना चाहूंगी। उसके बाद मैं चाहूंगी कि अगर मेरे किसी साथी का कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो वो जरूर मुझसे पूछे, क्योंकि ये बड़ी जिद्दोजहद है जो हमने रेगुलराइजेशन के लिए अपने हुकूक के लिए की है। तो मुझे खुशी होती है अगर कोई हमारी जिद्दोजहद के बारे में कोई साथी सवाल करता है तो उसको बताते हुए और हमारी हौसला अफजाई होती है। अब मैं अपनी बात का आगाज करूंगी कि जैसे कि मेरा नाम हलीमा जुल्करनैन है और मैं ऑल सिंध लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर एंड एम्प्लॉयज यूनियन की मरकजी सदर हूँ। पाकिस्तान में कम्युनिटी हेल्थ वर्कर प्रोग्राम का आगाज 1994 में हुआ, जो कि लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर प्रोग्राम के नाम से भी जाना जाता है। इस प्रोग्राम का बुनियादी मकसद कम्युनिटी में माँ और बच्चे को प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज की फराहमी, फैमिली प्लानिंग, हिफाजती वैक्सीनेशन और न्यूट्रिशन के बारे में आगाही फराहम करने के साथ साथ पोलियो वैक्सीनेशन भी हमारी बुनियादी जिम्मेदारियों में शामिल है। पाकिस्तान में 1,24,000 लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स इस प्रोग्राम में काम करती हैं। इब्तिदा में लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स को सरकारी मुलाजिम तस्लीम नहीं किया जाता था, जिसकी वजह से वो बहैसियत सरकारी मुलाजिम मिलने वाली तमाम कानूनी मराहत से महरूम थी। हमने मुल्क की सतह पर अपनी यूनियन बनाई और अपने हुकूक के लिए जिद्दोजहद का आगाज किया, जिसमें तमाम बड़े शहरों और फेडरल कैपिटल में प्रेस क्लब्स, पार्लियामेंट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान, के सामने मुसलसल एहतजाजी मुजाहरे किए, धरने दिए, मीडिया मोबिलाइजेशन और दीगर जो ट्रेड यूनियंस और सिविल सोसाइटी के साथ नेटवर्किंग की, जिसके नतीजे में हमें रियासती तशद्दुद का निशाना बनाया गया। हमारी कई बहनों को गिरफ्तार किया गया, उन पर लाठी चार्ज किया गया, कई बहनें शदीद जख्मी हुई, लेकिन हमने अपना एहतजाजी तसलसल जारी रखा, जिसके नतीजे में तमाम लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स को 2012 में सरकारी मुलाजिम तस्लीम किया गया। आलमी वबा कोविड-19 के दौरान लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर ने हुकूमत की जानिब से नामुनासिब हिफाजती इक़दाम, मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
जी हालिमा जी आ रही है
जी, नामुनासिब हिफाजती इक़दाम के बावजूद अपनी जानों को खतरे में डालकर फ्रंट लाइन हेल्थ वर्कर के तौर पर अपना किरदार अदा किया और अब कोविड-19 के हर शहरी की वैक्सीनेशन के लिए शहरों, गांव, दूर दराज इलाकों में ड्यूटी सरंजाम दे रही हैं। सरकारी मुलाजिम होने के बावजूद लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स अपनी बुनियादी हकूक जैसे सर्विस स्ट्रक्चर, अपग्रेडेशन, पेंशन और ग्रेजुएटी जैसी बुनियादी हकूक से महरूम है। यहाँ तक कि हमें जिंदगी का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ भी हासिल नहीं। इस माह के शुरू में हमारी एक लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को ड्यूटी के वापसी पर गोली मारकर हलाक कर दिया गया। और यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान में जैसा कि पोलियो की कैंपेन चल रही है कुछ डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में, तो कल केपी के खैबर पख्तूनख्वा वहाँ का एक एरिया है, वहाँ पे एक पोलियो वर्कर जो लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर है और दो उसके साथ पुलिस वाले थे, उनको भी गोली मार के शहीद कर दिया गया है। तो ये कल का वाकया है। इस तरह हमारी दर्जनों ASLHWU ड्यूटी के दौरान शिद्दत पसंदों के हाथों शहीद हो चुकी हैं। हम समझते हैं कि पाकिस्तान में खवातीन वर्कर्स बशमूल लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर्स समाजी, मुआशी और सियासी महाजों पर इंतहाई नामसाइद हालात का शिकार हैं। सनफी नाबराबरी वर्कर के लिए एक बड़ा मसला है। इनसे जिन्स की बुनियाद पे तफरीक की जाती है। इन्हें एक जैसे काम के लिए एक जैसी उजरत नहीं दी जाती। महकमा सेहत ने एक जैसे ग्रेड के मर्द मुलाजमीन को सर्विस स्ट्रक्चर, अपग्रेडेशन, पेंशन, ग्रेजुएटी की सहूलियात दी है, मगर लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर इन मराज से महरूम है। जबकि पाकिस्तान सिविल सर्विस रूल्स के तहत हर 5 साल बाद मुलाजमीन को अगले ग्रेड में तरक्की मिलनी चाहिए, मगर लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को पिछले 10 सालों से अपग्रेड नहीं किया गया। यूनियन इन नाइंसाफियों के खिलाफ मुसलसल जिद्दोजहद कर रही है और कामयाबी के हुसूल तक ये लड़ाई जारी रहेगी। और दूसरी जानिब मुआशी तरक्की के सरमायादाराना नजरिए ने गुर्बत, महरूमी, जंगों को जन्म ही नहीं दिया, बल्कि इस मौसमियाती तब्दीलियों में भी अहम किरदार अदा किया, जिससे न सिर्फ इंसानियत बल्कि इस पूरे अरज़ के तमाम जो जिंदगियां हैं उनको खतरा लाके। मौसमी तब्दीलियों से सबसे ज्यादा मुतासिर होने वाले मुल्कों में पाकिस्तान भी शामिल है। लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को काम के दौरान मौसमी तब्दीलियों के सबब मजीद मसाइल का सामना है। मौसमियाती तब्दीलियों की वजह से पाकिस्तान के शुमाली इलाके जात में तेजी से बर्फानी तोदे पिघलने के बाद सैलाबी सूरत हाल पैदा हो रही है, जबकि सर्द मौसम में गुज़िश्ता साल के मुकाबले में इस साल मामूल से ज्यादा बर्फबारी हुई, जबकि शहरी इलाकों में हेल्थ वर्कर को कम्युनिटी में ड्यूटी डोर टू डोर काम के दौरान स्मोक, CHW का सामना करना पड़ता है। हुकूमत की जानिब से इन हालात से निपटने के लिए मुनासिब इक़दाम नहीं किए जा रहे और ना ही लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को इन हालात से निपटने के लिए हिफाजती सामान या ट्रेनिंग दी जा रही है। यूनियन की मजबूती और लीडरशिप की सलाहियतों को बढ़ाने के लिए PSI ने जो रहनुमाई और मदद फराहम की है, इससे यूनियन की ताकत में इजाफा हुआ है और वो अपने मुतालबात के हक में ज्यादा मौसर ताकतवर आवाज बन के उभरी है। और यहाँ पे मैं WERO और PSI का खुसूसन जिक्र इसलिए करूंगी क्योंकि हमने अपने हुकूक की जो जंग है वो अपने बलबूते पे लड़ी है, लेकिन हमें जो टेक्निकल सपोर्ट और हमें जो सहारा पीएसआई की तरफ से मिला, हमारी यूनियन की रजिस्ट्रेशन में जो मदद हमें पीएसआई से मिली, और जिस तरह हमारे जो है ट्रेनिंग्स हुए, हमारे बातचीत करने के स्किल्स जो है वो बेहतर हुए, तो हम अब अपने हुकूक के लिए बेहतर तौर पे नेगोशिएशन भी कर सकते हैं, और गवर्नमेंट से बातचीत जब होती है तो हम अपने मुतालबात को बेहतर तौर पे जो है वो गवर्नमेंट के सामने रख सकते हैं। और अगर धरना या मुजाहरा होता है तो उसमें भी हम जो है वो एक मुंजिम तरीके से जो है हम अपने मुतालबात रखते हैं और खड़े होते हैं, वरना पीएसआई की ट्रेनिंग से पहले हम जो है हमें हिरास किया जाता था और हमें डराया धमकाया जाता था। जब हम मुजाहरे धरने करते थे तब भी हमें ये कहा जाता था आपको जॉब से निकाल दिया जाएगा और आप क्यों करती हैं अपने हकूक के लिए। लेकिन पीएसआई ने हमें एक ताकत दी है और हमें अपनी एक पहचान दी है। इन ट्रेनिंग्स की वजह से हमारा एतमाद बढ़ा है और हम पाकिस्तान में C190 के लिए भी काम कर रहे हैं कि जो लेडीज को खास तौर पे हिरास किया जाता है, उसमें ना सिर्फ हम लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को अवेयर कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारी लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर जो अवेयर हो रही हैं वो कम्युनिटी में जाके जो घर में औरतें हैं उनको भी अवेयर कर रही हैं और उनको भी बता रही हैं कि आपके ये हुकूक है, इस तरह कानून पास हो चुका है और आपको कोई भी अब हिरास नहीं कर सकता। अगर आपको कोई हिरास करे तो आप उसके लिए आवाज उठा सकती है और लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर उनका हौसला बढ़ रही हैं। तो ना सिर्फ लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर हेल्थ के लिए काम कर रही है, लेकिन वो एजुकेशन के लिए भी काम कर रही है और वो जो है जिनसी हिरासगी की खिलाफ जो है वो भी काम कर रही है। तो ये सारी चीजें, ये सारा हौसला हमें पीएसआई की तरफ से मिला है। तो मैं एक बार और कहूंगी कि हम शुक्रगुजार हैं पीएसआई के, जिन्होंने हमें टेक्निकल तौर पे इतना पावरफुल कर दिया है कि हम अपने मसले मसाइल के लिए जो है खुद से जो है ज्यादा ग्रेड वाले अफसरान के साथ भी बातचीत कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Sister Halima, for this important intervention and sharing your experiences of being the struggle for regularization and the long road that is ahead. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dipa from India. Professor Dipa is an assistant professor in the Ambedkar University in Delhi in India. She has been working on issues and has also been involved in social movements on issues of food rights, nutrition, and public health, as well as workers' rights in India. Professor Dipa, I hand over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Banaani, and thank you, Professor Hall, for inviting me to be part of this workshop. And I'm also grateful for getting this opportunity to hear from colleagues in Pakistan, which we don't often have. So in the 10-12 minutes that I have, I would like to talk about the equivalent of the lady health workers in Pakistan, which is the ASHA workers in India, and mention a little bit about another cadre of workers that we have called Anganwadi workers and helpers, who are basically early childcare. They run these early childcare centers, doing growth monitoring, nutrition education, and so on. So the ASHA workers have recently got global recognition. They were one of the recipients of the WHO Global Health Leaders Award that was announced, which sort of seemingly brings some recognition to their work, but like we'll see, it has been more symbolic, and there are a number of issues related to their work conditions, which are quite important, both in terms of the quality of work that women are engaged in, also in the context of recognition of care work that women do, and also the quality of services that are being provided, the public services that are being provided. So ASHA is an acronym for Accredited Social Health Activist. So in the name itself, there is a bit of a confusion on what her role is. So they were envisaged, basically they are community health workers who were appointed under the National Rural Health Mission, which was started in 2008, and later it was expanded to urban areas as well. In theory, we have one ASHA for about 1,000 population, and her task is somewhat of a community mobilizer, of being a bridge worker between the community and the health system. So she motivates people for accessing various health services. She maintains records on immunization, early childcare, and so on. She does home-based neonatal care. She does follow up with certain NCDs now. She does the TB dot program. She accompanies women to the public health, to the health centers for their deliveries. So there are multiple, a range of tasks that the ASHAs do, which have expanded to include more and more things over the years. It started off primarily with a focus on maternal and child health, but now many other tasks that come under her. However, the status of the ASHA as a worker continues. So there are about 1 million ASHA workers now across the country. And during COVID, they also had the responsibilities to trace and track and the COVID positive people, do a lot of awareness campaigns. And then when the immunization came, to encourage people to get vaccinations, reach whatever home-based services were being provided during COVID. But like I was saying, that the status of ASHAs as workers is something that is still not legally recognized. Their name says that they're activists. The government puts them in a category of volunteers where they are paid an honorarium and not a salary. So the first issue that the ASHA workers really face is that they're not considered employees, which was the big fight of, like we heard of the lady health workers in Pakistan, where they have had that victory, where they have been regularized. But the ASHA workers in India are still not considered employees, and they're paid an honorarium, which is a task-based honorarium. So they don't have any fixed monthly salary or remuneration. What they get is basically related to various things that they do. So for example, if they accompany a pregnant woman for her delivery to a health institution, then they are given ₹600. If a child completes their entire immunization, then they get something like 150, 200 rupees. So everything that they get is linked to tasks that they do, but oftentimes there are tasks included into what the ASHA worker has to do, which are not directly linked to a payment, but given their vulnerable situation, that they are at the lowest rung of the health system, even though they're not recognized as workers, they cannot really say no. So there is this issue of them being volunteers, but then the work that they do is not really voluntary. It is something that they depend on for their livelihoods as well. And they really don't have the space to refuse to do something if it is not linked to a payment. So given these payments that they are paid, it is now a little, it started off, it is a centrally sponsored scheme in the sense that the government of India funds it, but many state governments, mostly in fact in response to collective action by the ASHA workers, have started contributing to their honorarium. So what the ASHA worker gets paid varies across the country, but in many parts of the country they still do not, if you look at the average amounts that they get paid in a month, it is still less than even what the minimum wages would be. There was a committee which recommended that, a government appointed committee which recommended in 2018 that the minimum wages should be at least 375 rupees a day. This is for the floor wage in the country for unskilled work. And the highest that an ASHA would get in any state would come up to something around the minimum wage, but that is really more the exception than the rule. In most states, what they get paid is very little, something around 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a month, which would be around 300, would it be 300 pounds or 30 pounds a month, to about maybe 6,000 to 7,000 rupees. The ASHA workers also have the problem that it is not just, of course, it is their wages, but if you look at the time that they spend on work, especially post-COVID, the reports are that they're spending anywhere between 6 to 8 hours in the tasks that they have to do, which also includes a lot of record-keeping work, which they have to do in their homes at the end of their work day. They also have to deal with very poor infrastructure for the services that they provide, and being the face with the community, often they become the people then who are held accountable by the community also for the state of the health services. On the other hand, the health system looks at them as not part of the health system, but as part of the community. So they are often sandwiched between the state and the community with low pay and with high burden of work. And there are very few career prospects in the sense of there's very little, there are no promotions, there is very limited training around their tasks. One can look at the ASHA workers basically being used as a cheap way for the government to fill the gaps in the health system. Because if you look at the infrastructure, the human resources in terms of the auxiliary nurse midwives that are supposed to be in place, and the multi-purpose health workers, the various, the nursing staff and all that, there are huge gaps, and the ASHA workers are a cheap way in which government tries to make up for these gaps in the provision of public services. At the same time, it's also been seen that, the WHO recognition, of course, came after COVID, but there are a number of studies which also show that with the National Rural Health Mission, which came in 2008, whose main intervention was this community health worker ASHA program, it did have an impact on the number of things that the ASHAs were involved in as their main tasks, like the reduction in infant mortality, reduction in maternal mortality, increase in institutional deliveries, and so on. So they have, in the last 12, 14 years, established their credibility and their importance for the health system and for reaching health services to the people. And that was even more visible during COVID. Along with ASHAs, who are 1 million, like I said, there are about 3 million workers who are Anganwadi workers and helpers who run these early childcare, health and nutrition centers, who also address the nutrition of pregnant lactating women and adolescent girls. They do get a monthly honorarium, but they still get an honorarium. They don't get a salary. And they are now, the Anganwadi workers, slightly above minimum wages, but they are also fighting the struggle to be regularized. To this, if we add the cooks and helpers who provide the school meals. So India has a universal cooked meal program in the government schools where children are provided a hot cooked meal. So there is a cook, sometimes more than one, depending on the number of students who's employed by the school to cook the meal, to serve the meal, and do the cleaning post the meal serving happens. These workers are also, once again, considered honorarium workers, and they are paid much below what the minimum wages are. Again, the justification being that it's part-time, but once again, when you actually look at the time that these workers spend on being school meal workers, it is anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, which doesn't really give them time to do anything else. So at least just in these sectors of health and education, there are about 6 million, and these are all women who are employed by the government, but who are not recognized as workers and who are not paid salaries. There are many other cadres like Pashu, to do with veterinary care, to do various other kind of community tasks, where the government, where we see this trend of increasingly employing women in particular as honorary, voluntary workers without being paid a regular salary. So one question, of course, would be then why do women do this work? And I think there we have to look at it in the broader context of also the current situation in India, where on the one hand, we have high unemployment and very few job opportunities being created. Tasks like Ashas and Anganwadis are still something where women, there is a social acceptance. They feel that there is some respect that they get because they are seen as government workers, and there is a hope that they will at some point become regularized. So when we look at these community health workers, in India, in Pakistan, across the world, I think we need to look at it in the context of two structural issues, which this conference has been talking about as well. One is the overall context of neoliberal economic reforms, where the state is spending less and less on the provision of universal public services, and in fact moving away from providing universal public services. So these workers then become an easy way out, where you can actually spend very little and do the basic minimum. And it also becomes possible in the context of patriarchy, where the work that these women do outside their homes often is seen as an extension of the unpaid work that they do in their houses, extension of unpaid care work, which in itself is undervalued and unrecognized. And therefore, when women move out and do this work for the government as well, it's just seen as something that they would anyway be doing, and that their opportunity costs are very low. So in a way, in fact, the women are subsidizing both the state and the market by providing this cheap labor. Just to end, that while this is what it is, that these cadres of workers are really in this being exploited basically by patriarchy as well as neoliberalism. They're being getting the opportunity to do this work is also an opportunity, in the absence of any other paid employment available for them to organize, collectivize, and agitate. And that, like we've just heard from Halima, the really inspiring story of Pakistan, where they've managed to earn the status of regular employees. You see in India also, in the more recent periods, women ASHA workers as well as all the other scheme workers have unionized. There have been very inspiring struggles that they've led at the state and at the national level, and they've been making small gains. So I'll just end with saying that in the context of this whole discussion around universal provision of public services, the status that, I mean, it is really based on the shoulders of workers such as these, and they are really the ones in the front lines, not just providing the services, but also fighting this backlash against provision of free services, where they are organizing and they're constantly demanding for better work conditions, and really give us hope and strength to the larger struggle towards achieving universal public services for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dipa, for the detailed account of the community health workers in India. So next up, we have a community health worker from India. Her name is Manju Kamble. She is a community health volunteer in the city of Bombay, Maharashtra. She is also a senior member of the Mumbai Mahanagar Karmachari Mahasangh, the union which has been able to win quite a few fights in the court in the process of them achieving minimum, towards the process of achieving minimum wages. Manju, you have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute your mic.
Hello.
Yes.
Leslie. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Sorry, Manju will be speaking in Marathi.
Yeah.
Manju.
नमस्ते, माझं नाव मंजू कांबळे आहे.
Yes.
मी भारतातील मुंबई शहरातल्या वस्तीमध्ये समुदाय पातळीवर आरोग्य सेविका म्हणून काम करते. या जागतिक परदेशात भारतातील सामुदायिक पातळीवर काम करणाऱ्या आरोग्य कर्मचाऱ्यांना प्रतिनिधी म्हणून बोलण्यासाठी, त्यांचा आवाज तुमच्यापर्यंत पोहोचवण्यासाठी, त्यांच्या मागण्या मांडण्यासाठी आम्हाला आमंत्रित केल्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. मी मंजू कांबळे कर्मचारी महासंघाची वरिष्ठ सदस्य आहे. ही संघटना केसाईशी संलग्न आहे. भारतात आम्हाला आशा, अंगणवाडी कार्यकर्ता आणि CHW म्हणून ओळखले जाते. आम्ही वस्ती समुदाय पातळीवर काम करणारे आरोग्य कर्मचारी आहोत. आम्ही प्रामुख्याने वंचित, सामाजिकदृष्ट्या अपेक्षित पार्श्वभूमीवर असलेल्या महिला आहोत. आम्ही ग्रामीण भागात आणि शहरी गरीब वस्त्यांमध्ये सार्वजनिक आरोग्य सेवा आणि बालसंगोपनांना सेवा पुरवण्याची व्यवस्थापकाची कणा आहोत. भारतातील सार्वजनिक आरोग्य व्यवस्था आणि बालसंगोपनाच्या सेवा पुरवणाऱ्या व्यवस्थासाठी अतिशय कमी निधीची तरतुदी असते. ही तफावत भरून काढण्यामध्ये आमची भूमिका अतिशय महत्वाची आहे. आम्ही अशा ठिकाणी अशा लोकांपर्यंत लस, औषधे आणि आरोग्य विषयी माहिती पोहोचवतो जिथे डॉक्टर पण पोहोचता येत नाही. आम्ही गर्भवती महिला आणि 0 ते 5 वर्ष वयोगटातील मुलींची काळजी घेण्याची कामं करतो. त्यासाठी सेवा देतो. हे काम आम्ही आमच्या स्वतःच्या कल्याणकारी विचारामुळे व उदरनिर्वाहासाठी आणि आमच्या भविष्य सुरक्षित असणार आहे ही माहिती असूनही करत आहोत. पण याची किंमत शेवटी आम्हाला मोजावी लागणार आहे. कामगार कर्मचारी म्हणून आमची ओळख नाही. आम्हाला सार्वजनिक आरोग्य व्यवस्थामध्ये स्वयंसेविका CHW म्हणून ओळखतात आणि केवळ या ओळखीची आधारावर आम्ही अशा सर्व महत्वपूर्ण सार्वजनिक सेवा प्रदान करणे अपेक्षित आहे. बहुतेक वेळ तर आमच्या कामाचा तास दर दिवसांना 14 तासापेक्षा जास्त असतात आणि कधी कधी तर आठवड्यातून 7ही दिवस आम्ही काम करतो. त्यातूनही आमच्याकडून अपेक्षा केली जाते की आम्ही महिन्यामध्ये 2000 ते 8000 रुपयांच्या किरकोळ भत्त्यासाठी काम करावे आणि ही रक्कम म्हणजे केवळ भत्ता पगार म्हणून काही ठराविक रक्कम मिळवली ही तर अपेक्षाच ठेवायची नाही. त्यांच्या प्रमुख करणे असं की आमचे काम हे निलंधारित अपेक्षित ग्राहकावर आधारित आहे. स्त्रिया म्हटले की कुटुंब समुदाय याची काळजी घेण्यासाठी काम बिनपगारी कष्ट काम त्या नैसर्गिक करता न चुकता करतेलाच्या आशा पेक्षा सरकारी संस्था समाज आमच्याकडून करतात. आमच्या देशातल्या सार्वजनिक आरोग्य व्यवस्थेचे चेहरे आम्हीच आहोत कारण आमचा संपर्क प्रत्यक्षी लोकांशी आहे. लोक आम्हाला जास्त ओळखतात. जेव्हा लोकांना करोनामुळे COVID-19 मध्ये घरीच राहायला सांगितले होते तेव्हा आमचे कुटुंब आम्हाला बाहेर जायला नकार देत होते. परंतु प्रशासनाकडून आमच्यावर काम करण्याचे दबाव होता. आम्ही सांगितले गेले होते की आम्ही जर कामाला गेले नाही तर आम्हाला राजीनामा द्यावा लागेल आणि प्रशासनाने हे पण सांगितले की ते आमच्या ऐवजी दुसऱ्या कुणाला तरी कामावर ठेवतील. म्हणून मजबुरीने आम्हाला कोणताही सुरक्षेशिवाय तिकीट शिवाय करोनाचे हॉटस्पॉट असलेल्या भागात पाठवण्यात आले. आम्हाला जावेच लागले. आमचे काम होते घरोघरी जाऊन कॉन्टॅक्ट ट्रेस करणे आणि त्यांची निगराणी करणे हे काम आम्हाला लावले होते. तसेच करोना विषाणूबद्दल वस्ती पातळीवर जागरूकता निर्माण करणे. आम्हाला शाब्दिक आणि शारीरिक छळाचा फार त्रास झाला. हिंसा पण सामना करावा लागला. लोकांनी आमच्यावर पाणी फेकले. आम्ही सरकारकडे आमच्या या कामासाठी दर दिवसाला 300 रुपये प्रमाणे पैसे मागितले पण आम्हाला पूर्ण महिन्यासाठी फक्त 10,000 रुपये देण्यात आश्वासन दिले गेले. 1,000 देण्यात आश्वासन दिले गेले आणि आमच्यापैकी काही तर ते पण मिळाले नाही. लोकांच्या मनात लस घेण्यासंदर्भात संकोच होता. त्यांनी पटवून सांगायची जबाबदारी पण आमचीच होती. भारताला जगातील सर्वात मोठा करोनाच्या लसीकरण मोहीममध्ये यश मिळवून देण्यासाठी आम्ही पण अत्यंत महत्वाची भूमिका बजावली आहे. अलीकडचे WHO ते 10 लाख अशा कर्मचाऱ्यांनी ग्लोबल हेल्थ अवॉर्ड सन्मानित केले आणि त्यांनी आमच्या कामाची दखल घेतली म्हणून आम्ही त्याबद्दल कृतज्ञता पण व्यक्त करतो. परंतु आम्हाला जर सार्वजनिक आरोग्य कर्मचारी म्हणून ओळख मिळाली आणि त्यानुसार जर वेतन मिळालं तर तोच खरा अर्थाने आम्हाला मिळालेला सर्वोत्तम पुरस्कार ठरेल. आम्हाला महागाईच्या राहणीमानाच्या दृष्टीने वेतन मिळावे, सामाजिक सुरक्षेच्या योजनेचा लाभ मिळावा आणि सुरक्षा व चांगल्या परिस्थितीत काम करायला मिळावे व अशा तरतुदीसाठी आमच्या मागण्या आहेत. संघटनात्मक दृष्टिकोन आम्ही आमच्या हा दीर्घकालीन संघर्ष कायम ठेवू आणि आम्हाला सार्वजनिक आरोग्य व्यवस्थापनामधील कर्मचारी म्हणून मान्यता मिळापर्यंत आमचा हा लढा सुरू राहील. सर्वात महत्त्वाचे म्हणजे आम्ही लोककेंद्रित आरोग्य सेवा मिळवण्याची मागणी करतो. WHO जगातील आरोग्य संघटनेने अनिवार्य केलेल्या आरोग्य सेवेसाठी GDP सकल राष्ट्रीय उत्पादनच्या किंमत 5% खर्चाची तरतूद असावी. ही पण आमची मागणी आम्ही लावून धरणार आहोत. आम्हाला महागाईच्या राहणीमानाच्या दृष्टीने वेतन मिळावे, सुरक्षित व चांगल्या परिस्थितीत काम करायला मिळावे, या आमच्या मागण्या आहेत. या परिषदात त्याच्या निमित्ताने आम्ही सर्व कामगार संघटना, शैक्षणिक संस्था आणि सामाजिक चळवळींना आमच्या मागण्यासाठी पाठिंबा देण्यासाठी आवाहन करत आहोत. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Manju. Next, I would like to request Brother Prakash, who is the Union President of MMKM, to share his experiences of fighting the long fight in the courts. And he has been advocate in the Mumbai High Court, and he has been fighting the good fight for the workers' rights. Brother Prakash, you have around 7 to 8 minutes, so that we can also have a discussion after that. You will have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you, Banaani. I am audible?
Yes, you are audible. You have around 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay. I will not cross it. Thank you, Banaani, and South Asia PSI team. I will be very brief. I also want to thank the organizers on the subject of PSSP, the very important topic which requires to be debated on a larger platform. First of all, I will see, I'm Prakash Devdas, and I'm a president of the CHW union in India, especially in Mumbai, Maharashtra. And I see that some of the points which I will be making here will be debatable and maybe required to be further discussed. One is the most of the CHWs, community health workers, are from the female workers. So I can say 90% of the workers involved in the this health sector are women. And it is, I think the government always thought that the women will not unite. But I see that that is reversed now. We are having a very strong unions in India, and they are making up to come up with the expectation of the CHWs and CHWs, Ashas and Anganwadis to fight for their right. And I know the fighting is not easy. That we have been doing fighting this for 20 years. And I see two very much important points to be debated. One is why they are called volunteers. Are they not entitled to become employees from volunteers to employees? And why their remuneration is styled as honorarium? Are not that required to be translated into salary or wage? Now, these are the two obstacles which I found that the government in India and other country also, they are giving a nomenclature to keep hiding or suppress the employer-employee relationship. That is what much debate is required to be taken place there. And the second one is, I will also take, had there been no community health workers in India, the entire health sector or health system could have been collapsed in front of COVID-19. You know, that is what I may say. It was the army of CHWs who saved the citizens of India against the pandemic of COVID-19. And therefore, I think the government has become somewhat aware that these people are doing very good job, but they do not want to translate it into the real things. Real things, I mean to say, they accept that we are the public employees. We are required to get the wages. We are not only get to wages, the social security. Some of those people who work for 30 years, 35 years, they are without a rupee, you know, without anything that they are. And therefore, I want to say that even that what they call is for their own satisfaction, this is the honorarium. They say when we call it, when government calls it, or when a local body calls it a honorarium, that means they think that they defend that you are not our employees, or they say just volunteers. And I am not. We have won the cases in the court, and I'm sure the Mumbai will show the way for all the CHWs in the world. And we are doing that, and we are winning that, and we will win that. Now, another link which I will always say, I argue before the courts also, that the CHWs are pillars in the health sector. They are pillars because, you know, sometimes you say that a building is constructed on the basis of the pillars, which unless the pillars are strong, the building will not survive. So I know the people, CHWs and Ashas and Anganwadis, they have worked like anything during the COVID, pandemic. And I also call people call them frontline workers, COVID Yodha, warriors, and like. But what use if they are not treated as public employees? They are not paid salary. They are not given social security. No, these are the things which require, because I can say only though these people are working more than what they get. 10 times more, 100 times more, they put in their efforts to give health services to the people. And social security is a must. And for everybody, I think we have got it. Of course, the court cases, we won it for provident fund and pension. We also got it minimum wages. That is one of the most important factor which in India we must follow. We must demand that the central government minimum wages prescribed must be paid to the CHWs and CHWs. They must be Anganwadis and Ashas. Ashas are only paid a few INR, Indian rupees, which is not at all justifiable. And it is, of course, some of the speakers said that it is exploitation. Definitely, it is exploitation by the government. We always said that there is exploitation from the private people. But here, it is by the government and own elected government by us that it is exploiting. Recently, I think it's a very good move that the Supreme Court has in India has held that the honorarium is not, you can't say it is an honorarium, but whatever you pay, it is wage, it is salary, and it is Supreme Court has held that they are entitled to gratuity. And I think the way the air, the wind is blowing in our favor, and we are going to get it. Now, one more thing which I wanted to press is decency of work, or decent work, I can say. They do not give the permanent workers or the officers, the officials do not give them respect. Now that is most important for moral boosting of the community health workers. For all those, I don't take names, but I know all those people who are, and I also find that there is a neglected, the health sector is neglected in terms of budgetary provision. That is also, it's a most important thing which we should pursue and see that the more budget is provided for health sector, and then I especially say that taking into consideration that fight against the COVID-19, the government must rethink on this entire schemes, all the schemes, and we have not different nomenclature. We must have only one say that the community health visitors or community health workers, that must be a common thing, and all unions must come together and have a very big fight against the exploitation by our own government. That is very, and I cannot, I say about 40 lakhs people, especially the women are working in India who have no social security today, and their exploitation is is continued on, except that those which are fighting for the we have got many success in Mumbai, you know, especially in Mumbai. We got now 12,000 rupees per month wage, and we are working for 5 hours. You know, this is taking into consideration for 8 hours, it would be about 20,000 rupees. And we have got also won the case of Provident Fund and pension to be paid to them. Again, another case which we got is the minimum wages under the Minimum Wages Act 1948, that makes up about 18,000 rupees. So we have got only a difference of about 4,000 or 5,000 to make it a minimum wage. That is what I said, that Mumbai is going to show the way for the entire global CHWs or CHWs and all those workers to fight for their right, I can say. And some of the points which raised were depression, demoralization, you know, there is no security, the harassment in the field, and all those things are very, they exist. They are very difficult to be faced, and I think we are also doing good work for organizing the state level unions for these people, the CHWs, and also national level forum, which we are trying to build. And in India, I think we are going to have a tough fight with the government of India, the state government, and we'll see that they become public employees like Pakistan. Pakistan must have given them the status of public employees, but I don't know whether they get a social security or not. If they become a public employee, they are also entitled to social security because that is one of the best part of it. Thank you very much for your giving me an opportunity to speak. Maybe late because I wanted to go early, but I was kept at the later level. Sister Banaani, thank you, and Kannanji, also thank you for organizing and joining this. We will fully cooperate on whatever programs are organized for CHWs. Thank you very much.
On that very helpful, hopeful note from Brother Prakash, so our last speaker has notified that he will not be able to present today. The last speaker was from India. His name is Prakhar Tripathi. He is a young researcher, and he's to just give 2 lines about his research is on the community health workers in Kanpur in state UP in India, Uttar Pradesh, and also where community health workers and the labor relations and its association with the Indian Health Department. So we come to an end of the, almost we're coming to an end of the session now. Just to summarize, we have had speakers from India and Pakistan, community health workers themselves giving a grassroots level account of the work that they do, and as well as the leaders, as well as academics who have made very important contributions in this session. I would like to open the floor for discussion. We have around, and question and answers, we have around 15 minutes. There was a question from participant, and the question was that why are the lady health workers killed in Pakistan, especially by the police, where very importantly highlighted by Brother Zulfiqhar that they are not killed by the police but by the religious extremists. But if we can go into a little bit of a detail, Brother Zulfiqhar or Sister Halima could be a better, would give a better answer into this situation. Sister Halima, meanwhile, if we also have questions, kindly raise your virtual hand and we'll get back.
जी जी बिल्कुल मैं मौजूद हूँ.
Sister Halima, if you can just tell us briefly why are the community health workers facing death threats or being killed by the religious extremists in Pakistan?
ये जो पोलियो वर्कर हैं, इसके कत्ल की जो है ना एक दो वजूहत नहीं है, काफी वजूहत है. एक तो ये उन इलाकों में ये मसाइल ज्यादा हो रहे हैं जहाँ अनएजुकेटेड लोग हैं, और वो जो पहाड़ों के इलाके हैं. और एक उसामा बिन लादेन का केस भी हुआ था, तो उसकी जो हुई थी पूरी ये जो कहते हैं कि जांच हुई थी, यानी उसको तलाश किया गया था, तो वहां पे भी पोलियो कैंपेन किया गया था. और पोलियो वर्करों के घरों में, मतलब वो पोलियो वर्कर को घरों में भेज के और सर्च किया गया था कि कहाँ पे है. तो ये लोग समझते हैं, और दूसरा ये समझते हैं कि ये अमेरिका की साजिश है, ये जो कतरे हैं वो हराम है और इससे हमारे बच्चे पैदा नहीं होंगे. तो ये लोग हमारे दुश्मन हैं, हमारी नस्ल कशी करना चाहते हैं कि यानी हमारे बच्चे पैदा ना हो, हम खत्म हो जाएं, तो इसलिए ये कतरे पिलाने आते हैं. फिर जो भी कतरे पिलाने जाता है तो उसके साथ ये होता है. इन इलाकों में कुछ चंद इलाके ऐसे हैं जहाँ इंतहा पसंद लोग रहते हैं, वहां पे ये मसाइल पैदा हो रहे हैं. और वहां पे जो भी फिर जाता है, चाहे लेडीज हो चाहे मेल हो, लेकिन उसको फिर वहां पे जो है मार दिया जाता है. लेकिन ज़ाहिर है लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर तो मुल्क के हर हिस्से में तैनात है, और लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर से हर सख्त ड्यूटी ली जाती है. जिस तरह कहते हैं हम यहाँ पे सेकंड आर्मी लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर है. हर तरह का मुश्किल काम हो लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को ही करना है. कोविड में आप देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह के लोगों के रवैये हैं. अब हमारे यहाँ पाकिस्तान में बूस्टर डोज चल रहा है, फर्स्ट डोज हुआ, सेकंड डोज हुआ, बूस्टर डोज. तो इन मतलब कैंपेन में हमें काफी मुश्किलात हुई, लेकिन इतना मुश्किल काम भी लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर को करना पड़ा. जब बारिश आती है, तूफान आते हैं, तब भी लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर कैंपों में काम करती है. तो यहाँ पे जो भी मुश्किल काम होता है वो लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर से लिया जाता है. अभी इलेक्शन चल रहे हैं तो इलेक्शन में भी लेडी हेल्थ वर्कर की ड्यूटी है, और पोलियो तो है ही एक मुश्किल काम. हेलो जी, मेरी आवाज आ रही है? सिस्टर बनानी, मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपके पास?
जी जी आ रही है.
हाँ, तो यही बस सबब है, इंतहा पसंद सोच है कि ये हमारी नस्ल कशी हो रही है. तो ये लोग जो पिलाने आ रहे हैं ये हमारे दुश्मन हैं और दुश्मन को तो टारगेट बना के मारा जाता है।
Thank you, Sister Halima. The floor is open if there are any questions or interventions from the participants. If there are no questions or interventions, so what we can do is we can go around the speakers for their last comments on, since we have heard different stories of struggle and recognition and regularization from Mir. Yes, we have Susan. Hi, the floor is yours.
Hello. I just had a quick question to the speakers about the death toll on the ASHA workers and the female health workers during COVID-19. Have the groups been able to collect any data, and was there any support provided to them, given the reports about what frontline workers they are?
Thank you, Susan. Perhaps Professor Dipa?
Thanks, Banaani. I don't remember the number exactly, but there have been deaths, over 100 certified of ASHA workers in India, and they did have a scheme of insurance during COVID of rupees 50 lakh, that's around 5 million rupees, for deaths due to COVID. But there were a couple of issues. One is that they had to be tested and be certified, have a COVID positive certificate to say that they died of COVID. Another demand that came from the ASHA workers unions often was that their families were also at risk, because they were not given very good quality PPE. They were just given cloth masks in most cases and sanitizers. And they were more vulnerable members in the family, older in-laws and parents and so on. There was no support for family members falling ill or even dying due to COVID. So that has been an issue. Again, we don't have the numbers. And also the issue of possible deaths due to COVID, but not recorded as COVID deaths, where they did not get any support.
Thank you, Professor Dipa. If there are no further questions, I would like to hand over, okay, I can see a hand from Amitabha. Please unmute and please.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Hi, thanks to all the speakers for excellent talk. Can I speak in Hindi, if it is fine? I have some questions for our Pakistani friends, so that's what I thought.
Yes, you can also speak in English, because there is simultaneous interpretation going on.
Okay, I got it. My question is for Zulfiqhar ji. Last year, actually, we were working on the pandemic in South Asia. So then actually we had an opportunity to look at the Pakistan's health budget, which is more or less comes around 0.9% of GDP. So can you please give us some insight that from which head, as well as is it from the state budget or the union government budget, the CHWs are being paid since they are permanent right now? And also, do you think that since there are a lot of contextual challenges in every South Asian countries, so in particular to Pakistan, whether there are any international, not pressure, but some prod as well as advices from the international aid to regularize CHWs, since family welfare as well as immunization have become a sole public health objectives in many of the South Asian countries, which is again, there might be some other connotation of that, but so far for this question I would like to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Amitabh. Zulfiqhar ji, if you can unmute. Oh, yes, you are unmuted.
Thanks, Halima ji. बहुत अच्छा लगा आपका presentation and salam आप सब लोगों को. Thanks.
Zulfiqhar ji, we can't hear you if you are speaking. So mic is unmute. You are on mute again. We can't hear you. Sorry, we are running out of time.
Sorry, who's trying to speak, Banaani?
Yeah, he is. I can see his mic unmuted, but we can't hear him.
Okay.
Okay, there is some problem from his device. Perhaps, Zulfiqhar ji, if you could answer the question in the message. Sorry, there is a technical glitch on his computer. In the meantime, I think I can hand over to Professor David for the closing remarks and closing the workshop. Before that, I would like to thank the speakers, the participants, and the interpreters for helping us throughout the session. David, over to you.
Okay, okay, thanks, Banaani. And just to say thank you to all of you for a terrific contribution to this conference. It's a global conference. We're addressing issues of how to develop strong narratives supporting public services and public spending. And I think there are three key things that this workshop has done and demonstrated and will continue from this. One is the fantastic campaigns that you've been running and the potential and the great vigor and success of basic organization. That's a big message when a lot of people are talking about and feeling powerless, that there is this power. And just to add that there's clearly been a very strong international dimension of this, and some of the things that were said about PSI by the health workers of Pakistan are as big a compliment as an international union organization can get, I think. Secondly, I think everything that's been said about the role of the community health workers is that public services are made of public service workers. These are not two different things. It's not public services can't afford to pay workers or can't afford to have workers. This is what a public service is, and that in fighting for employment and recognition for community health workers, it's fighting for a public recognition and acceptance that this is a core part of a health service that ought to be recognized, financed as such, and provided with decent work. The third thing is that I hope that all the energy that you've put into both fighting on these issues and coming together in this workshop shows that you will be interested in a continuation of attempts to develop in collaborative ways across countries and between academics and trade unions and social movements over the coming months and year in order to try and strengthen our case internationally. But I think this workshop itself has made a great contribution to doing that. So thanks very much to all of you. who I know have made considerable efforts to both set it up in the first place and prepare and deliver your contributions. So thank you very much.